Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, after the update for Miriam yesterday, we're back on the random partners day, and we've got an interesting one today because we hit up these two. The actual random commander that came up was Yannik, Scavenging Sentinel, and I thought, well, I haven't done a partner pair for a long time, so let's use Nikara as well, the Lair Scavengers, to get it in. So we'll start with Yannik because they're the one who actually came up on the random thing. 2 green and white for a 3/3 Hyena Beast. Has Vigilance and obviously partner with Nikara. And when Yannick's Scavenging Sentinel enters the battlefield, exile another creature you control until Yannik leaves the battlefield. When you do, distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures where X is the exiled creature's power. Okay, that's right. Yeah, fine. Move some of our +1/+1 counters around on things we've done. Seems alright. And then Nikara, the Lair Scavenger, has Menace. And whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had 1 or more counters on it, you draw a card and lose a life. So, an upside to getting rid of your creatures with +1/+1 counters on it. Okay, but I had thoughts. And my thoughts were, how do I get +1/+1 counters on creatures cheaply? As maybe part of the casting cost, or having them flip. And then I remembered about Incubate. So, bit of a different one today because we're using Nikara and Yannik to play with the Phyrexian incubator tokens. So here we go. So, starting at the beginning, we do have one creature that isn't really a Phyrexian, but I couldn't resist playing it, and that's Galvane Hydra, because who doesn't love some +1/+1 counters and then getting treasure tokens when it dies off? So this had to be here. Yes, it doesn't really work with Yannik, but when it dies, you do get to draw a card, which might, and lose a life if Nikara's in play, so there's an upside. Grist, the voracious lava, is also in. Comes into play, you can have it, or another creature enters the battlefield as you control if it entered from the graveyard, or you cast it from your graveyard. You may pay 1 if you do exile Grist. That's something that's fairly irrelevant, I guess, but we could flip it, hopefully. We have ways. But yeah, if we get it flipped over into Planeswalker side and have the 1/1 black and green insect creature token and mill 2, death touch counter on the token of a black card that was milled this way, we can cope with that. The first one of the Phyrexians that appears that gives us incubate tokens is the Eco Drinker. We get a little bit of life gain off this, and then we can exile it from the graveyard to incubate 2. Progenitor Exarch is also in, enters the battlefield, incubate 3 X times. So this is one of our late game ones. We want to try and get X up as high as possible. We'll see. Hopefully we can at least get this off as like X is 3, so 7 mana would be good. Belly Blight Rat, when it dies it proliferates, so we do it. There's a little bit of proliferation in the deck, I should have mentioned that, just to help us build up the number of +1/+1 counters on things. Bristling Bill seems like a bit of a no-brainer to me to put around the +1/+1 counters on landfall, and then when we've flipped our incubate tokens over, we get to double up our +1/+1 counters on each creature. Seems cool. Grateful Apparition does the whole proliferation bit for us as well, along with Master of the Cause. And then we have Norrin's Inquisitor doing the whole incubate 2 when it enters, and then whenever you transform, whenever a permanent you control transforms into a Phyrexian, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Yeah, okay then. Pollen Bright Druid here for the proliferation, or a +1/+1 counter if we really need it. Adaptive Spore Singer also in for the proliferation side of things. A little bit more expensive, but 3 mana for a 2/2 with Vigilance that proliferates or pumps something by +2/+2 and gives it Vigilance is useful in my head. Completed Hunt Master is quite fun. We can sacrifice another creature or artifact and incubate 3. So we can block with some smaller incubated flipped tokens and then sack them off to get bigger ones at some stage if we need them to. Yeah, like that plan. Elvish Fat Keeper enters, incubate 2, and then pay 5, transform an incubated token you control and double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. Expensive but good. Evolution Stage for the proliferation. Serpent Blade Assassin does the whole backup and death touch thing, which is just an extra way of getting some +1/+1 counters in. And plus the fact the Death Touch could be quite useful some of the time, I thought, so hence it's in. Bowler Slinger also comes in with some more backup, so we can get some more tapping done of artifacts when we attack. Brimaz, Blight of Orizaxi, is also in. Whenever you cast Phyrexian creature or artifact creature spell, you get to incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. We have a few Phyrexians kicking around, so we'll get a few more incubations on the go. And at the beginning of each end step, if a Phyrexian died under your control this turn, we get to proliferate. We'll make him bigger. Consuming Etherborn is here for the backup, just gives more lifelink. I was getting a little bit worried about Nikara, so maybe a wasted slot. Could be a removal spell, I think, but we've kept it in for now. Elish Norn had to be in, especially if we can get them to sacrifice things off, transform it, and then incubate 5 times, and then give all our creatures +1/+1 and double strike, and then destroy everything apart from artifacts, lands, and Phyrexians, and flip this. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that plan. Filigree Fector comes in, enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on any number of target creatures and a charge counter on any number of artifacts, and then you get to sacrifice an artifact to proliferate. Very strong, very good, very weak. Need to get +1/+1s on it as well, so bear that in mind. Archpriest of the Shadows is here just so we can return things. It's another +1/+1 counter with backup. They do kind of work with Yannik quite well, the backup creatures, so bear that in mind. Boombright Valkyrie is also in, flying first strike lifelink. Got to protect ourselves from the Phyrexians somehow. Essence of Orthodoxy is also in. Incubate 2 when this thing enters, and whenever another Phyrexian enters, like Gissa. The Herald of Predation is also in. Beginning of combat on our turn, incubate 2 twice, and then transform all our tokens. Can't fault it. Guardian Scalelord is in just so we got a bit of removal. Not removal. Let's terminology this right, shall we? Ability to return stuff from our graveyard to the battlefield. It does help. I'm not sure people are going to agree with all the backup creatures in the deck, but I think they work really well. We are in Ikoria at the end of the day, so there would be some creatures there, is my argument. Anyway, Norman's Choir Master. Whenever a commander you control enters the battlefield or attacks, we get to proliferate. Very nice. Another Phyrexian. Thank you very much. Conclave's Shield Captain just lets us do the whole damage dealing thing and get that many +1/+1 counters on things. Avenger Ascendicar seemed a bit of a no-brainer because we want creatures with +1/+1 counters on it due to Yannik, and Avenger makes that very much easier. And then Gloomfang Marauder. Swamp Cycling is what it's here for, to go and get our land, basically. The backup 2 is quite nice, along with a Menace if we need it, but mainly here's an extra way of going and getting a land out. 2 Planeswalkers. Jigang Yaki, I can never say this, the Wildcrafter's in. We get our Phyrexian tokens flipped. We get to tap them for mana. I'm happy with that plan. And then Ajani, Adversary of Titans, just chucks around some more +1/+1 counters. It would be very nice to get the emblem off, or return a target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. And considering we have all of these as 2-cost creatures or less, having them come back is useful. Thank you very much. A few spells. Nature's Law, 3 visits. Unbound Potential comes in purely because of the proliferation side of it, but I do like it as a card. It's a nice little combat trick that can throw damage out, even in Commander, and the proliferation helps, especially if we can do the entwine costs and do both of them. So, that's cool. Mortify for a bit of card removal. Toxic Deluge, Damnation, control the board. Glistening Path comes in to let us do incubate twice, where X is the number of lands we control, so it gives us some big incubated Phyrexian tokens if we need them. Ranger's Path, Skyshroud Claim for more lands sorting out, and then Merciless Repurposing just gets rid of some very annoying creature that we may be up against. Yes, it's expensive at 6 mana. I'm not going to say it's not. You could quite easily replace this with Soul's to Plowshare's Path to Exile, but I'm playing it because I want to have the incubation token hit. So that's the way it goes. From there, we jump into some more ramps. So Mana Vault, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, 1 of each of the medallions, and then 2 cards. Ozolith the Shattered Spires in over the actual Ozolith itself, because this one lets us put +1/+1 counters on artifacts. It works really well with our Phyrexian tokens. And then obviously the Great Henge is in. Yeah, well, you wouldn't not play it in this deck, would you? Beyond that, there's a few choice cards in here, and there's going to be a couple of things missing that may reappear in the deck at some stage, but I've avoided them for now because I've tried so hard not to play them. So, Anointed Hardened Scales is in, obviously, pointless not to play it. Gifted Completion comes in, it lets us incubate 3, and then whenever our Phyrexians die, we get to surveil 1. Innkeeper's Talents in to put an extra +1/+1 counter on things, and then when we get up to level 3, we get to put twice that many counters on things. The Meat Hook Massacre to help us give us a bit more board control and gain some life and make our opponents lose some life. Abzan Ascendancy. I love this card. This is one of the cards that's probably been controversial. You've got to have a reasonable amount of creatures to have this come in and make it worthwhile. But whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you get the White Spirit creature token, which can be helpful in this deck. I'll come back to this in a second, however, because the other controversial one's going to be Blighted Burgeoning. I'm very aware of this. Incubate 2 and then just extra mana off our lands. Branching Evolution, the Calls of Garenbrig should all make sense for the +1/+1 doubling and counters. Phyrexian Awakening just gives a nice big incubation token and then gives our Phyrexians Vigilance. Sylvan Scavenging, chuck around some more +1/+1 counters. Another one that could be controversial, which I'll come back to. Sculpted Perfection needs to stay, by the way. Pumps up all our Phyrexians like this. Karthos Crusade, Virtue of Loyalty, and Primeval Bounty should all be self-explanatory. Now, Scavenging and the other ones I mentioned earlier, Gifted Completion and Blighted Burgeoning, could all very easily be replaced by Parallel Lives, Anointed Procession and Doubling Season. I'm very aware of that. This deck is probably made for that more than anything else, but I've tried very hard to avoid those cards for a change. I usually play them in anything with green and white in them. I'm very aware of that, but I've decided to have a bit of a break and try it slightly differently. I'm not saying in the future that when I play this deck on stream when I'm back from my holiday, you won't see them because I might decide that's where they need to be. But for now, they're out and they'll stay out until, at such a time I decide they need to be in. Public service announcement over. Land-wise, green, white and black lands all the way through, including Field of the Dead to give some extra creatures. Reliquary Towers here, Temple of the False Gods here, because at the end of the day we've got a 3-mana commander and a 4-mana commander, and they get killed off and things will go pear-shaped quite quickly. But that is it. That's my take on these two. Hopefully it's slightly different. The backup creatures can probably be replaced, but I'm enjoying playing them at the moment. It's worked quite well with them. Having the additional +1/+1 creatures with the Phyrexian tokens is quite good fun, and people don't expect to see them in this partner pairing. So anyway, but let me know what you think down below in the comments. Even though I'm away, I will still be keeping an eye on comments and trying to respond to things as things happen. Obviously, leave it down below. If you want to see me play these decks when I'm back from my holiday for Christmas, there's a link also down below to my Twitch account, so come and follow me there. Hit the subscribe button if you can here. There's 567 I want to say at the moment as I record this one, so if you've not been here before, I'd love it if you could subscribe and help me out. That'd be really great. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with an updated deck from one of the very first decks I ever talked about here on the YouTube channel. So for now, take care, have fun, and I'll see you very soon on stream. Be good. Bye.